Back at again with another video for you guys. I think I got a good one for you today. As you guys might know or not know, I went on, or I was being recruited by a few different companies recently, and during one of my during one of the interview processes for one of the jobs, they had me take a personality test, one that I've never taken before. So I thought it was really cool, thought it was different. And honestly, taking the exam wasn't cool. The results that I got back, what it told me about myself, I thought was actually pretty cool. So I wanted to just talk about that video, talk about the results of that test. Because I also cross-referenced them with ChatGPT. So I'll show you what the test said, and then let's go and see what ChatGPT said. So let's get into it. All right, so basically, the test that I took was from a place called Gallup, and I guess the test was your CliftonStrengths. So basically, they gave me a roadmap. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Now, how do I? It says my strengths are competition, analytical, futuristic, focused, and strategic, and that's pretty in line with who I am. So this is a 26-page PDF. So I wasn't going to read all of this. I read a good amount of it, but I did what any sensible person would do in 2026. I threw it in the ChatGPT so ChatGPT could tell me. So this is what ChatGPT told me that it said. So it says you also lead with strategic thinking as your dominant domain, meaning your natural default is analyzing information and forming strategies before acting. That's true. My straightforward evaluation. This is ChatGPT's evaluation of what the exam had. Your number one strength is competition. That means you are fundamentally driven by scoreboards and comparison. Very true. I'm in sales. You care about being better than others. Yes, I do. And measuring progress against them. Yes, I do. Combine that with analytical number 2, strategic number 5, focus number 4, and achiever number 6, and the pattern is obvious. You are wired to analyze the system, figure out how to win, execute relentlessly. So, okay, when I read this scared me because it was very, very true. So I encourage everybody to take a personality exam every once in a while. Again, this was something that a job had me do. But this combined with the ChatGPT and analyzing it was very, very scary. And now that I'm rereading this again, I'm getting, because it's like I don't like being I don't like when people know me, I guess, or understand. I don't know. I'm weird like that. And so if I feel like I'm being too, like, I'll just back up. So I'm weird like that. So it says this is exactly the psychological profile that thrives in environments like sales, entrepreneurship, strategy roles, leadership positions, startups, competitive industries. Frankly, this is one of the most performance-driven profiles you can have. Okay, interesting. You're both visionary and tactical. Most people fall into one camp, dreamers or executioners. Your top 5 show both. Vision side, which is the futuristic and strategic. The execution side, which is the focus and the achiever. Analytical sits between them. That combination is powerful because it means you naturally see the future, analyze the situation, choose the path, and execute hard. That's literally the founder/executive pattern. Very, very interesting, right? You also have influence traits. Your top 10 include competition, significance, and command. These are dominance traits. So I posted a video on my page about sales soft skills, and one of the things I had talked about was personality, piece, that a framework that I was taught. So when I took that test back when I was being trained on it, my 2 traits were dominant and analytical, and I always thought that was like I thought it to be true, but I thought over the years I leaned more on the analytical side, especially as I got toward leadership, because I had to be more. I had to lead differently. My role was different. So when I saw this, it was just very interesting that they had that in there, because I was like, Again, this is very scary that I basically gave AI my personality, which is like, that's crazy. Anyway, let's keep going. Command specifically means you are comfortable taking control, speaking directly, making decisions under pressure. That's all very true. That's leadership energy, but it also explains something. Some people will probably perceive you as intense, intimidating, blunt, demanding. That is also very true. That's not necessarily bad. It just means your style is high dominance. The interesting part, your relationship traits are lower. So woo, positivity, adaptive, positivity being last is crazy. Um, um, this means that you are not naturally wired to charm rooms, emotionally manage groups, prioritize inclusion or harmony. These are all very true. But what I will say, when you become a leader and you are leading people that have wide, different personalities, it forces you to bend a little bit or adapt. Not necessarily bend, but adapt. And so you adapt or adopt, some of these principles so that you're able to effectively communicate and lead wide ranges of people. And I'll talk about that later in this, I believe. It says instead your profile prioritizes results, strategy, and achievement, which I do. This is extremely common in founders, operators, and competitive sales leaders, but it also means your leadership style will naturally be performance oriented, not everyone feel good. That is true. The most interesting combo in your results, these three together matter a lot: competition, significance, and futuristic. That that combination often shows in people who want to build something big, which I do, leave a mark, which I do, and be known for achievement, which I do. I want to achieve more. I don't think I've achieved enough. Significance specifically means you want your work to matter and be recognized. That is all very true. That aligns very closely with building companies, thought leadership, creating products, building systems at scale, which honestly matches a lot of the things you've told me about your goals. I don't know about you guys. I do have conversations with ChatGPT, not verbal ones, but I'll like sit there and type. I have a conversation with AI. That is actually something that I have done before. Now, number 6 says your potential blind spots. This is the important part. Where your profiles like yours can get into trouble. Impatience with slower people. God, that when I saw that, I was like, bro, why does it know me like that? Because I do have a problem with slow people. But we're friends. I could tell you that and you not judge me, right? Don't judge me through the screen. Don't do that. Nobody likes judgers. Come on now. So, achiever plus competition equals high standards. You will likely get frustrated with average performers, people who move slow, or people who lack urgency. All 100% true. I over optimization. So, analytical and strategic can cause overthinking. Yes, I overthink often. Constant strategy adjustments and wanting perfect plans. Yes, but I'm wise enough to know that there's no such thing as perfect. I just try to strive for my version of perfect, the best that I can do. Intimidation factor. Command plus significance can unintentionally come across as arrogant, confrontational, overly direct. None of those mean you are those things, but perception matters. Very true. I had a leader tell me that when I was younger in my leadership journey, tell me that was something that I had to overcome. What I find most interesting about your results, one thing stood out immediately, you are not primarily a relationship-driven salesperson. That is not necessarily true. I adapt to the prospect now some prospects are people that enjoy building that relationship. Some people are more direct. So I try to tailor my approach based on the person so that I can most effectively sell them. Your psychology is something much closer to strategist, builder, systems thinker, operator, but you can be in the field where performance is measured with your sales. which activates your competitive trait. That's why you probably enjoy improving systems, building frameworks, coaching, optimizing performance, more than just selling itself. That is very true. That is very true. But sales is how you make money. So it had a question for me. This is the funny part, because then I think I go on me and AI really got deep in the weeds. So I'm curious about something. When you look at these results, what stood out to you? Specifically, which results felt dead accurate? Which ones surprised you? Do you think the competition trait actually describes you well? Because honestly, your profile matches almost perfectly with the kind of person who ends up building products, leading teams, optimizing systems, creating frameworks. Which is interesting given the products you're already pursuing. So ChatGPT knows like what I've got going on. I've been using ChatGPT since 2023. And so it's got a good understanding before this of what my interests are. It doesn't necessarily know any other personal aspects. We're going to get a little bit more personal, but it was all relative to this. Anyway, so I told it everything was pretty accurate. So to ChatGPT. What's crazy is just your synopsis is very interesting given the results of the test. I think the one that was spot on, dead accurate, was competition for sure and analytical. I think it's all has like an 80 to 90% accuracy, to be honest, but I will say I'm a lot better with being able to manage groups and team cohesion and being able to manage different personalities to maximize talent and output. I've had to develop that skill over the 4 years at my current company, which is when I was doing insurance. I thought your analysis of a couple of things really intrigued me, especially given your knowledge of the projects I'm working on, how I don't work well with dumb people, quote unquote, how people can perceive me to be intimidating and arrogant and too direct occasionally. Also, now you've nailed why I enjoy other things, not just selling. I thought that was very accurate. Now, I'm not trying to, by the way, I'm not trying to like speed read, but there's a lot to get through. So I'm trying to get through, that's all. So ChatGPT said, your reaction actually reinforces that the test probably captured your natural wiring, while your leadership experience explains the parts you've learned to override. That distinction matters a lot. There are 2 layers to personality results like this: natural tendencies, which your brain defaults to, and developed skills, which you've learned through experience. You're describing exactly that. Very interesting, ChatGPT. So your natural operating system versus learned leadership skills. Your results show low natural emphasis on relationship building traits like rule, positivity, adaptability, and includer, but you said you've gotten good at managing personalities and group cohesion. So, you can like read through some of this stuff. I'm not going to go through everything, but we got a little bit more personal, I believe. Where is it at? Something you're insecure about now is your competition is your number one trait is competition, which is interesting. So I want to ask you something honestly. Do you feel more driven by winning against others or building something that proves you're capable of more than people expect? So it is a combination of both A and B. But option A drives me the most or it's what's getting me the most motivated, because it's true. I do like to beat people. Like that's not winning is everything to me. It really is. If I lose, I'm a very sore loser. I'm a bad loser. I'll respect the person who defeated me in that moment, but it sits with me. Like it is. I really, really hate to lose. I really, really hate to lose. I don't know where I get that from. It might be from my dad. My dad used to beat me in like Madden and Pokemon back in the day. Whose dad plays Pokemon with them and then beats them? Like, come on now. Anyway, we were going to New York. This is my first time going to New York. My dad took me. I used to live. I'm from Philly. I used to live in Philly, so it would take 2 hours on the train to get to New York. He was going to the Pokemon store. I was like 11 or 12, and so we're on the plane or on the train, and my dad, like, I don't know if he. First off, I love my dad. I don't know if he's gonna watch this. And I love the fact that he plays, because he still plays. And he, when he got into it, he really got into it. So we're on the train, and we're battling. Like you bring the link cable back in the day, 90s babies, you know what a link cable is. You bring the link cable, and then we're playing. And I was one of those kids, like, you want to play with the 99 team on Madden. You want to give rare candies to your Pokemon for to get a level 100 or whatever. And my dad was like, yeah, that's cool. Whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Do your thing. And he dismantled me. I quit. Because you could run from the battles back in it, like when you're doing link cable. My dad, I'm 30, I'll be 34 in December. My dad still brings that up to this day. That was 22 years ago. My dad still brings that up to this day. So I really, really hate losing. It's not I really don't like to lose. I don't. My dad, I lost I did a bike race like when I was like maybe 13 or something like that. Maybe 12, 13. So I think I was 12 actually. And again, I was in Philly, and then like you had to ride your bike around this thing. I never prepared. I didn't like. I used to be so supremely confident in my athletic ability that I just used to just do stuff, and I learned over time that you can't really do that. Anyway, I came in fourth, and I came in fourth. A girl like she was either second or third, so she placed ahead of me. And my dad was like, man, I can't believe you lost to a girl. It's like, bro, I couldn't escape it. So I really just hate to lose. So small story time. Back to the results of the personality test. So ChatGPT says that answer lines up perfectly with your results. If option A, winning, is the stronger driver, then your competition trait really is your engine. Everything else in your profile becomes the tools you use to win. Let's unpack what that actually means about how you're wired. So, psychological engine scoreboard thinking. People high in competition don't just like winning. They think in scoreboards. That means you naturally track things like performance metrics, rankings, results versus peers, progress versus goals. Your brain constantly asks, where do I stand? Very true. So, why sales was a natural fit for you? Sales is basically a competitive sport with a paycheck attached. I've been saying that for years. Because, yes, that's I used to say that when I was on the phones, when I worked in insurance, like, what was that, 2016, 17? I was like, I'm not a professional athlete, so this is how I get my competitive fix. And crazy how saying that all those years ago and it pops up in a personality exam. It's crazy. It says your strength stack is pretty rare. It's actually pretty rare. Your top 6 together create a specific type of performer. Competition drives you to win. Analytical breaks down why things work. Futuristic imagines what success could look like. Focus locks onto the goal. Strategic finds the best path. Achiever outworks everyone. Put together, that's basically a competitive strategist. Not just a grinder, not just a thinker, but both. So your potential trap for your personality types. I thought this was very, very interesting. So trap number 1, constant dissatisfaction. You win something, then your brain says, what's next? God, that legitimately happened to me when I won President's Club, my like outright winning. I was a top manager at the company. And my director had beat me the year before when he was just a manager. He was number 1, I was number 2, and he got promoted. So after I won the first time, we were having a one-on-one. Like we had like a one-on-one to start the year off. And I was like, how do you like keep motivated after you've achieved like a goal you've had? And he was like, man, I'm in that same boat. I know exactly how you feel. So I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. He won back-to-back, so that kind of drove me to win back-to-back as well. But yeah, that is what's next is definitely something that I'm plagued with. Comparing yourself too much. Competition personalities often measure success relative to others. Yes, I do that as well. So it had another question. So it said, winning motivates you the most, but winning what exactly? And so, it says what actually excites you the most: being the top performer in a company, building a company that beats other companies, creating a product used by thousands of people, becoming known as an authority in your field, building serious wealth. Very good question, because all of those essentially are part of it. But this is what I told ChatGPT. Being the best I can be, but proving I'm better than others is probably what it is, especially if it's someone who has something I want and I think I'm better than them in some way. 2 through 5 excite me the absolute most. Being the top performer in a company is great, but doesn't necessarily mean much in the grand scheme of things, while 2 through 5 do, in my opinion. 2 through 5 being the retirement home in South Africa, which I do want to retire in South Africa. I want to be the person in this age of AI that builds a company or business that allows me to be able to travel and do what I enjoy most, which is coaching and developing sales talent, consulting, eventually speaking engagements, creating, and being able to command my time and schedule. That's my ultimate goal, and I think, and that's what I need AI to help me do. They say there will be small team billion-dollar companies or businesses, if not solo businesses, and I want to be a part of that. I want that to be me. And so this is what ChatGPT said. Your answer actually fits your profile almost perfectly. I'll break down why, and then we can talk about how to use it instead of just admiring it. So your motivation is your motivation is competition validation. When what you described is this pattern, I believe I can do something better than others, and I want to prove it. That is textbook competition significance working together. So those are the two personality things from earlier. Competition wants to beat others. Significance wants the achievement to matter and be recognized. Those two other create people who want to win at things that count, not small games. Very true. I'm not into the small stuff. Like it used to be hard to articulate that to people who thought small, because they'll look at me and I'll be considered arrogant because I'm like, that's small stuff, but I'm just what I want is just way up here. That's legitimately it. But it says that's why top performer at a company doesn't excite you very much, because the scoreboard is too small. You want a bigger arena. Yes, I do. Which is also scary. Like when you actually really understand how big the arena is, like the competition level when you're playing at a higher game is massive, because you're not competing with just like people locally. You're competing with the globe. You're competing for it's a lot of different stuff. But again, I need a slice of that. Anyway, so your vision includes, your real goal isn't just money. You said wealth is the ultimate goal, but what you described is actually freedom and legacy and control. Your vision includes businesses running without you, global mobility, speaking and coaching, building things that outlive your effort, time autonomy. That's not just money, that's leverage. Wealth is the scoreboard that proves you built the machine correctly. The AI era opportunity you're talking about is real. You mentioned small teams building billion-dollar companies. That idea comes from the software leverage principle. In the past, you needed large teams, distribution was expensive, and automation was limited. But now with AI, it provides leverage in development, content creation, marketing, customer support, and providing value, helping people, and you'll be able to get what you want if you help enough people get what they want. I'm a firm believer in that. So let's see what else it says. It says your personality fits an AI founder profile well. Some more stuff that I don't feel like reading currently. Really is my battery's about to die, but that's neither here nor there. So it says, I'm curious about one thing. Oh, hold on. This might be interesting. Hold on. So what AI thinks what ChatGPT thinks my best long-term lane actually is AI powered performance systems, which might not be wrong. So, it had a question. Your personality type usually has a specific moment that triggers this mindset. A moment where you thought something like, I'm capable of way more than what this environment allows. Do you remember what that first started out for you was? A job, sales role, et cetera, et cetera. I wrote a long message here, so I'll read it. I think I have time. So when I was a sales rep 10 years ago, I enjoyed it as a new challenge coming from door to door. And this is when I was a sales rep in insurance. I enjoyed it, but I felt like a rat on a wheel in some situations. I felt I had other skills that I could leverage and new ones to potentially develop, but I worked at a major insurance carrier in a corporate setting. High competition for new roles, and I didn't think I'd, get a fair shake after seeing someone that I thought be the most qualified person for the role get passed up on for it. Like, that actually really was jarring to me. He ended up resigning because he didn't get the role. So I ended up leaving after about 3.5 years. I had my first daughter, and I had spent a lot of time, with her. I was trying to execute a plan that which I basically had a similar plan that I have right now. Build a personal brand, sell products online. That's essentially what I was trying to do back in 2019. I just didn't execute it very well at all. And for different reasons. I wrote 2 ebooks. I tried a little promotion, a little Instagram ads, but ultimately I was uncomfortable putting myself out there for 2 reasons. I'm an introvert, and the thought of posting myself on social media was cringy. And because I didn't think I had enough credibility at the time, that was probably true. If you feel like that, if you're going to talk about a topic and you feel like you get imposter syndrome talking about it, that's probably true. You probably, back then I knew my stuff, but I didn't have the self-validation. So me putting like my head down and just grinding to get that self validation was major for me, because now if I was to get on camera like I am now, I talk about stuff that I have done, put into practice, and helped others succeed with, which is why I'm so confident in it. So if you don't have that and you get that imposter syndrome, it's probably true. And it's not a bad thing, but it just means you have to, go work some more. That's all. Work some more, but document that work. That's the one thing I didn't do. Had I documented that work and acquiring those things, I would have had distribution and a following right now. But at the same time, I didn't think what I would talk about was Instagram worthy. I thought it was, at the time I didn't realize, but it was more LinkedIn worthy. And that's why I'm trying to leverage LinkedIn now. So I told myself every move I made from then on was going to give myself the credibility and the confidence to do this again in the future. So I went to a smaller company because they would have more opportunities and a higher demand for talent. And I got promoted to a sales trainer, which gave me skills I didn't have before, like instructional design, which I picked up in my own interests, along with curriculum creating, facilitating trainings with a large group of people. And then ultimately I was promoted again to a sales manager and developed more skills. Fast forward, I've been in leadership for 6 years now, and then I've been promoted to a sales director in my current role, or I could have been promoted to sales director in my current role, but I decided to decline it to pursue what I'm doing now, which is my personal brand development and creating my own products. So ChatGPT said this actually explains a lot about how you think and why your test results look the way that they do. And honestly, it also explains why the projects you're working on now are not random. They're the logical result of the path you took. And it's going to break down everything that I said. You can talks about, me deciding to be intentional with, what I did: sales training, instructional design, curriculum development, leadership, managing sales teams. Those are real world authority builders. And it's a much stronger foundation because it is. I mean, again, I needed to have that credibility behind me, like self-credibility. Like, again, I knew I could do the things, but because I hadn't done the things yet, talking about them, I didn't feel super confident about. So one more question that it asked. You declined the sales director role. That's a major fork in the road. So let me ask you something honestly right now. Do you see yourself more as a founder building scalable products, or a high-level operator who eventually builds something on the side? I wanted to focus on building my own digital product, like my own thing that I can be known for, which is where my app, Sales Coach AI, comes in. I felt like something that brings value to the people that use it. I felt like taking that role, I would continue to delay what I knew I was supposed to be doing, which is trying to build my personal brand, sell my own products, and take a risk on myself. I told my VP I didn't want to accept the role and not give it my 100% because I had other things on my mind. He appreciated the honesty. Everybody, including him, thinks I made a mistake and that I should have taken it, which was true. My old sales director, who I mentioned before, he thinks that I was stupid, my VP, who I have a really good relationship with, he told me, saying like, VP hat off. He's like, yeah, that was, you probably should have did that. You should have took it. And even the guy that they gave the role to, we were both going to get promoted at the same time, but I declined, so he got promoted himself. And he was like, "Yeah, bro, you're a fool. You shouldn't have did that." So I needed that, because now I really got to go hard. I really do need to go hard. And so it only makes sense if you're playing a long game. So excuse me. So let's back up. What you did is one of those decisions that only makes sense if you're playing a long game, which I am. To people inside the system, it looks irrational. To someone thinking about leverage and ownership, it's a very different calculation. So it talks about how the director role would have been higher salary, more authority, prestige, safer path, but the trade-off is I build something for myself. So the idea is that I'm trying to build something for when I'm 40, 45, 50. I don't have to be dependent on the corporate system or the be a part of the traditional workforce. I want to establish my own thing so that I call my own shot. Like, I'm not afraid of having to work 60 hours a week for myself. I'm not opposed to that. But I don't want to be, I've seen too many times where if you're like an older person, you don't get certain opportunities that you might be qualified for, and it sucks. And so I don't want to be in a situation where I don't know what to do. So I want to build my own thing. And if I'm successful with it, great. If I'm not successful with it, it still is a helpful lesson. And I'll be a lot more valuable having tried. I was watching something the other day, and it says Steve Jobs was like, there's virtually no risk for Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, because you try to build something, and if you fail, you become that much more valuable because of your experience having tried to build it. And I thought that was cool, because that's kind of what I'm trying to do now. So, is there anything else in here? I mean, there's more stuff. That's really what it came down to. Like, the whole point of this video, I just wanted to shoot this and just talk about some of the things that the personality test showed me about myself. But I think there's importance in understanding who you are, what drives you, what motivates you. And I'm a big proponent of AI, man. I think a lot of people are misunderstood about AI. And are there drawbacks? Absolutely. There's drawbacks about the internet right now. There's drawbacks about Wi-Fi and 5G, all kinds of stuff, man. But I think AI has the opportunity to propel us forward as a human race. If you're an entrepreneur or a capitalist, it has the potential to increase profits and change your life. And I want to be a part of that. I want to help people using or leveraging AI, but I also want to help put my family in a better position than we are right now. Am I successful currently? I mean, it depends on your definition of success. My car's paid off. I live in a nice area. My sales director used to joke, because he knows where I live. He's like, you live in the #1 suburb in Florida, which is cool. It's a nice area. My daughter's in private school. By a lot of different accounts, I have disposable income to a certain degree. Like, a lot of accounts out there would say I'm successful, but the way that I look at it is, this all could be taken away from me in an instant. Could all be taken away from me in an instant. And if I'm not building something for like downside protection, then I'd be a fool. So, if you made it this far, thanks for watching, man. Like I said, this is just to help you get to know me a little bit better. For me to get better with being in front of a camera and making videos. But thank you for being here. Like I said, man, I got some great stuff in the works. I got Sales Coach AI version 2 is dropping soon. I can't wait to be done with that. I've got a game that I'm working on integrating with Sales Coach AI. I've got Orion, my e-learning or an authoring platform. It's also going to be an LMS platform. So If you're a sales trainer, that'd be, something that would be very, very helpful for you. I want it to be something like articulate storyline. So I've just got some things in the works, man. Again, thank you guys for being here. Like, subscribe, comment. See you guys on the next one. Peace.